Well, I want to thank Dimitri first for his vision to organize this wonderful Greek gastronomic experience. And obviously for the hotel school for putting it up and organizing and putting the resources to make this happen. So, and thank you for inviting me to come here today. I'll start off by just asking, how many of you have been to Greece? Okay, we're not doing that.
And how many you would like to go to Greece?
All right.
That's much better.
How many of you have tried Greek yogurt?
They lie.
How many of you have tried Greek cheeses? Okay. All right. How many of you have tried Greek cheeses besides feta cheese? Besides feta cheese? Okay, a few. All right. I use this image because I think it represents the spirit and the mood of what cheese is to Greeks. You know, in our sterile, urban, big city, we just see cheese in a packet in a supermarket. You know, we take it home and we open it, we have it in our cheese platters or whatever, but it's sort of very disconnected from its origins. Cheese is, for Greeks, it's something that connects them to their land, to farming, to their villages, to their communities, and they're very proud of it. They're very proud of it because each region has a very, very wide array of cheeses, and a lot of them have registered their regional cheeses as PDO products. Greece is, I think, the third in PDO. Do you know what PDO is? It's the protected destination, designated origin of the products, which in Europe, you can, if you have like a product which is unique to a region, you register it, and then no one else can produce that product, like feta cheese is, champagne is, and so on and so forth. Greece has the third highest registrations of PDO in Europe, which is astonishing. Not many people. The third is Greece. Yeah, so it's astonishing. So Greeks are very proud of their heritage. They associate Greek cheese and dairy with the land, with their villages, with gatherings, and so on and so forth. So this image, I think, kind of gives you that feeling. I'll just very quickly say a few things about us because we are sponsoring this event. And me, I'm Stelios. I come from Cyprus. Has anyone been to Cyprus? No? Okay. And I'm the founder and MD of Levant Foods. We're the biggest dedicated importers of Greek food into Hong Kong and Macau. And as we're today talking about products of dairy, nature, and yogurt, Mevral is our flagship brand. You've probably seen it in supermarkets. The yogurt is there. And it's one of the biggest dairy companies, representing around 25% of export from Greece, dairy exports from Greece. So I think before we get into the conversation of discussing the specific cheeses, I would just like to create a sort of a context, a historical and geographic context of where is Greece, what is the historical context, and why those cheeses are there, right? So I think, let me just have a look. If you look at Greece, you'll see where it belongs, right? It's at the edge of Europe. We have Turkey and the Middle East here, North Africa just here, the Balkans just above us, the Black Sea. So it's really an Eastern country. And the food and customs and everything has been shaped by the history. You know, obviously we had like the ancient times where you had the Egyptians, the Mesopotamian civilizations, the Assyrians, the Phoenicians, and so on and so forth, trading, the Turks, the Caspian, the people coming up from the Eurasian side. So food Dairy especially has been something very much close to the region. And you will find very similar products in Turkey, in the Balkans, the Middle East. You will find a similar feta. You will find a similar halloumi cheese. You will find a similar strained yogurt, actually. So what makes it different? We'll have a look at the differences, but there's a lot of similarities in this region because they originate from that same sort of region there. The other thing to note is the geography. If you just look at Greece, I mean, what's the first thing that strikes you on this map? Besides the sea. It's a lot of mountains, right? It's a really mountainous place. I mean, there's no grasslands, there's no plains, it's a lot of mountains. It's predominantly a very mountainous and hilly area, with the exception of this area here and this area here. And I'm pointing these out because these two are important dairy making areas, especially with regards to cow milk products. Greek yogurt mostly comes from here. Why? Because there's grasslands there and cows need grass. The rest of Greece is mountainous, which is not suitable for cows. In fact, cows was a much later introduction to Greece. Most herded animals were goats and sheep, and it still is very much. Therefore, 90% of Greek dairy is goat and sheep milk based. So most of our cheeses are goat and sheep milk cheeses. So that's one thing that distinguishes Greece with a lot of the European cheeses up there. The second thing that you will notice, that maybe you cannot notice from here, is that the fauna and the flora of Greece, if you take it from the south up to the north, is very different. If you come further south, it's very arid, dry. In the summer, it's hardly any grass, you go further up north, it gets greener as you get up to this sort of side here and this side. So you have a lot of different ecosystems and microclimate systems all around Greece. What that does is that it shapes and it produces different types of flavors, tastes. The milk tastes different in different areas. So that gives distinctive taste to different cheeses and dairy that's produced in different parts of Greece. That's why you may have a Graviera cheese, we'll come to in a minute, that's produced in Crete, that's quite distinctively different to one produced up there. So you will see there are some differences based on the ingredients that are sourced from different parts of Greece. So getting back to, and then, you know, I mean, obviously Greece is history and classical history and so on and so forth. We all know about all these things. And Greek yogurt has been around apparently for a very, very long time. A famous historian, Herodotus, in the 5th century, made a reference to yogurt. And a lot of these yogurt references can even be traced back to the sort of the Indian sort of peninsula, the Indian sort of continent, semi-continent, basically coming from the east towards Greece. So yogurt has been around for as long as human beings have been around, more or less. And Greece, also there's a lot of references to cheese going back to even Homer's Odyssey, where there's a reference there in the mythical tale about Cyclops, Polyphemus, who basically by accident was carrying milk from one place to another in sheep's stomachs, and then obviously curtailed, and then he thought, oh my God, this is interesting, and then he liked it, and then kind of there's a reference to early cheese making around there. So cheese is a very ancient thing in Greece, like most things. So I think today's presentation, we've just kind of set the context. And I want to focus a little bit on 3 things, because I think these are the 3 most known, most available here, and most important in terms of exports from Greece and Cyprus. That is Greek yogurt, feta cheese, and halloumi cheese. You can find these in Hong Kong, in many places, and I think they're by far the biggest exports from Greece. So we don't have a lot of time, so I'll just focus on these 3, and I'll touch upon the other cheeses that we have, which are Graviera, Manuri cheese, and Kasseri cheese, these three other cheeses. So I think I'll just focus my energy on these three first, and then we'll touch on the others. So moving on to yogurt. Sorry, I can just breathe. So Greek yogurt in Greece is commonly referred to as strangisto. Strangisto means strained. When you go to Greece, you say Greek yogurt, they'll be looking at you as if you're like an alien. They'll say, well, we are in Greece. Well, all yogurts are Greek. So there's no such thing as Greek yogurt in Greece. It's a marketing construct. Okay, it's a marketing construct that was used for exports to basically emphasize that it's a Greek yogurt, strained yogurt, and to brand it, which was probably the smartest thing the Greeks did in a long time. Okay, so actually, what is Greek yogurt? Greek yogurt is a strained yogurt made out of cow's milk. It's been triple strained to extract the whey from the milk, and then you achieve this naturally creamy and velvety texture that it has. There's a few statistics just on the bottom here, the slide. I don't know if you can see it on the bottom here, but basically Greek yogurt is fourth. These are from 1920. So Greek yogurt has a fourth place in the world regarding yogurt exports. 42% of Greek exports go to Italy, surprising but true. 22% of Greek exports go to the UK, and 90% of Greek yogurt, of the total Greek yogurt exports, are plain yogurt. Because Greek yogurt has no advantage to be a fruit yogurt. You can find plenty of cheap fruit yogurt. So actually the health benefit is what people are looking for. And that's why the majority of Greek yogurt exports are plain yogurt. I heard Dimitris earlier on keep saying about Greek style and Greek yogurt and the original thing and the real thing. So I'm going to touch upon these differences by highlighting what Greek yogurt is and therefore what it's not, right? So why is Greek yogurt different to other yogurts? The first and singular most important thing is that it's a strained yogurt. It's strained 3 times to remove the excess whey. And this process has profound impact on the price, on the nature of the yogurt, the texture and the nature of the yogurt, and the health benefits, these 3 things. On the price, why? Why is Greek yogurt much more expensive? If you go to the supermarket, it's $30-something for a cup, for this cup, $30. If you look at a similar cup, 150 grams, it's probably 22-something, 20-something. Why? Anyone know? I just alluded to it now. One,
Because it's strained,
and therefore,
not as creamy as Greek yogurt.
and therefore it requires more milk, right? It requires more milk to make 1 kilo of yogurt, requires much more milk.
It's denser.
It's denser because it's been strained. So therefore, Greek yogurt has more milk. That 150 grams of yogurt that you buy has a lot more milk in it than another yogurt. And the labor costs of straining, energy costs and so on and so forth, machinery and so on and so forth, adds to it. So that's why it's an expensive yogurt. Predominantly, that's the reason. Now, is it worth the premium? You would say, would I pay $30? And why should I pay $30 and not pay $22 and just get a normal yogurt or a Greek style yogurt? Well, I think it is, quite honestly, because it's strained, it's naturally thick and velvety, has that naturally thick and tangy texture, right? That you cannot replicate through another yogurt that achieves that through cheating, through adding of thickness like gelatin or solids, milk solids that achieve that same illusion of thickness. This is a naturally produced texture, right? Through straining. Therefore, you have a natural product. Secondly, it has more milk. It's a higher content because it's been strained. It has a higher content of protein. Where is it here? It has no added thickness and sugar, like we said. Yeah. Let me just finish these 3 points and then you can jump in. And also very importantly for Asia is that because it's been triple strained and the whey has come out, it also means that the lactose, a lot of the lactose has come out. And as you will probably tell us, lactose is the sugar found in milk, basically, right? And what makes a lot of people intolerant in Asia. So Greek yogurt is by far the least lactose content of any yogurt in the market because it has been triple strained, because the whey has been taken out. So it has a very low lactose content. And because of that, by consequence, it's also the lowest in carbs and calories as well. So there are a lot of benefits from this straining process that comes out. It does have an impact on the price, but the health benefits and the enjoyment in terms of the actual product itself are profound. You want to jump in?
Oh, now it's on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm a nutritionist and founder of Nutrilicious. We are a nutrition consultancy company. So on the note of Greek yogurt, I don't know if some of you can differentiate between Greek or Greek style. By now, you can just read the label or the cover of the yogurt tub. But so is anyone here lactose intolerant? Okay. So for those of you who are lactose intolerant, or if you're not familiar with what lactose is a natural occurring sugar. It's a sugar found in dairy products, milk, yogurt, cheese. And the reason why Greek yogurt or yogurt is lower in lactose is because throughout the production process, which is in the form of fermentation, the live bacteria, the natural bacteria consumes the lactase, consume the lactase. So which of course lower the lactose content in the product. And another benefits of Greek yogurt is also for some of you who work out or is watching your protein content intake. Greek yogurt is also higher in a lot significantly higher than regular yogurt. So any guess how much protein is in 1 cup of Greek yogurt? It can be any number.
Oh man, that's like a protein bomb.
No, but he's right in a way, because if we're talking about a 350-gram type Greek yogurt, it can provide up to 23 grams of protein.
Yeah, for big.
Bigger tub, yes. And of course, that's why people who are wary of their protein content intake, they will choose Greek yogurt also for that reason.
I think it's up to 16 to 18 grams per 100 grams,
Yeah.
basically somewhere there. So you're in a bigger tub, yeah. Thank you. So just adding on to what we've just said, an important other way to distinguish Greek yogurt, obviously it has to be made in Greece. If it's not made in Greece, it's not a Greek yogurt. It's an Australian yogurt or a Danish or English or whatever, but it's a Greek style. It's not a Greek yogurt. And this is very important because all Greek yogurt made in Greece must follow the designated standard per national and EU law. So there are standards in the Greek law and the EU law that determines how a Greek yogurt is made. One of those standards in there is that it must use locally sourced milk and ingredients. It cannot use Bulgarian milk or Romanian milk or whatever. It has to be Greek fresh milk. So by that definition, it can only come from Greece because it wouldn't pay much to ship Greek milk to Australia, to make Greek yogurt. So it has to be that. Now, how is Greek yogurt enjoyed or eaten? Well, most people would probably associate yogurt cups with granola or some honey maybe, or some nuts or something like that. And some people may just like eating it plain. Okay. So there are many, many ways you can enjoy yogurt. The ways I've mentioned are raw and fresh and cool, but Greek yogurt can also be used in cooking and in many, many other ways. It can be used as a marinade. So you can marinate meat or fish or whatever in yogurt. You can use it in soups. You can use it in many, many ways for cooking. But I think this point here is, from a health point of view, it can substitute, it can be an alternative to fresh cream and mayo. So if you want a healthier option, instead of getting a fresh cream that is like very, very fattening and a calorie bomb, you can substitute that with yogurt. And the same with mayo as well. So in certain dips or certain desserts, or not desserts, salads or whatever, instead of mayo, use yogurt. So it has a health benefit to use as a substitute to other things, creamy things as well. So there are many, many ways to use Greek yogurt. It's up to you, but whichever way, it's just a highly enjoyable product. Okay. So I think, do we take any
Shall
questions?
we,
Or?
shall we start to try the Greek yogurt and then we can
Sure,
share a
sure,
little
sure,
bit
sure.
about the
Yeah.
application of Greek yogurt?
Sure.
Yes. So
By
I
all
think you
means.
can see here today we prepare 3 little pots of Greek yogurt, right? Here, and these are the full fat Greek yogurt. So you can open it and have a
This
try.
is this one, the one that you're tasting is this one here. The same, yes.
The same.
We just
so-
provided 3 because you can try
How
it
much is
simple. You can
the
try it with
fat?
honey or other stuff that we bought. I've also
Can you
said
weigh-
we've also bought some Greek honey. So the honey you have there is a Greek thyme honey. So that can also be paired with the yogurt to try it out.
So in the Greek style, if in the early breakfast, you can usually have it with the honey, right? Or with some pistachio nuts or any kind of nuts or
For
fruit.
breakfast, you
Yeah.
can, I mean, you can have it however you want, plain
Yeah.
or with honey or with cereals or with grains or with fresh
Mm,
fruits or,
yeah.
or nuts, or, the combinations are endless.
So you can start with a plain first, and then later you can add a little bit honey, and
Yeah.
then you can also add a little bit nuts. Then that will give you different flavor. So for the yogurt, earlier I think Cyril mentioned you can make yogurt to salad dressing, and you can use it for marinate chicken, like Indian cuisine. They use a lot of fresh yogurt to marinate different type of meat. Usually it's chicken, and for the tandoori. And what else? I think you can also use the yogurt to make ice cream. I think that's
You can
one of
make
the
ice
best,
cream, of course.
right?
I have a little slide just here,
Yeah.
which will maybe inspire. Oops, what happened? Probably make that in 5 minutes in the morning. If you have a small blender, you throw in your fruit, throw in your whatever, blend them, put them in the yogurt, and you're finished. It's very, very simple.
The thing with the Greek yogurt is that it can be any meal. It can be breakfast, can be
Yeah.
lunch, or can be dinner. Or it can be a supplement to
A snack.
a
Snack.
So,
Yeah.
And my mom would always have yogurt just in case she had visitors, because she can prepare something very quickly and cover for something that she may not have.
So any comments from your tasting? What's yeah, what do you think?
Honey is really not thing with honey is really nice.
Did you try it?
Yeah, I've tried.
It's nice, huh?
Really nice.
Okay, good.
Because today we have a premium honey from
Yes,
Greece,
yes.
right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a honey from Greece, which I brought. Also, in one of the tubs, you have figs, dried
Figs.
figs, which are from
I think
Greece
with
as well.
figs, this is
yeah.
fantastic too. And save some figs or honey later on, you can add it with cheese too.
You can, yes, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Any other comments?
Can you can you notice the texture, the difference with other yogurts that you've tried? Can you see that thickness that is there,
So creamy.
that creaminess?
Mm.
And there's no powder feeling. Like some yogurts are a little bit powdery,
Mm.
but this one is very velvety, right? Do you find it sour? Sour? A little bit? It should be, right? It's yogurt. Otherwise, it'll be fresh cream.
It tastes like cream.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I think it's less sour than the Wugan yogurt.
Yes. This
Wugan yogurt is much sour.
this particular yogurt is quite creamy. That's why it's been very successful in Hong Kong, because people here generally don't like a sour yogurt. They prefer a creamier yogurt. So this has a very creamy taste profile. Well, you can let it become bad for a month, then you can eat it. I actually quite like eating expired yogurt, to be honest. I let it expire because actually yogurt cannot expire. It's already spoiled milk.
But last week
No,
I just
said-
had
I
a
said
yogurt.
I do that. I didn't suggest it.
I also do that too.
Yes. You get the mold on top and all these things. Yes, I've seen it many times.
Naturally,
Yeah.
because it is not naturally fermented and created,
Correct.
and it doesn't have pure ingredients. So that's another main difference.
So on the note of that, I want to highlight that for dairy products, there's the best before date. So best before date means it needs to be consumed before or on the date. And there is also expired, the other date, which the product still can be safe for consume. But for dairy products, you need to consume before the date or on the date later. Yeah.
And I just say, who likes hot pot here? Who likes hot pot and very, very spicy food? Yeah. Okay, look, the best thing after spicy food and hot pot is beer. Greek beer Nissos, yes, you're absolutely right. But half an hour or 1 hour afterwards, have Greek yogurt. Because it actually cools you down.
Cools you down.
It's the best. Not, I love hot pot and I like spicy food. And after a while it gives you, you still feel quite burning. And then you have a little bit of Greek yogurt and that calms you down totally. Try it next time.
I think at home we can easily make the Greek yogurt with shredded cucumber salad, right? And then make it tzatziki, make it very refreshing when you are having some kind of spicy food. That would also very nice.
Just make sure you squeeze the water out of the cucumber.
And put as much garlic as you can possibly have. There are two little secrets to do tzatziki. Tzatziki.
And of course, Greek extra virgin olive oil. Shall we move on to the next, or any questions on the yogurt before let's take some questions, please.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one gentleman here.
So I've seen recipes online where they make mayonnaise substitute with Greek yogurt and mustard. Is that a Greek thing or is it just a American thing?
No, it's a sick thing.
No. But it's just like mayonnaise. Thanks, guys.
No, I mean, listen, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? The same with taste. If you like it, then go for it, you know? It's a compliment. It's a compliment. It's flexible. You know, yogurt is a neutral. You can add it with anything, you know. But Greeks, you know, mustard is not really a Greek ingredient. Yeah. Any other questions you have, sir?
I'm a big fan of Greek yogurt.
I'm happy to hear.
But I could not buy the big tub from the supermarket. Is it? Okay,
You can
only-
order from our online store. We have 1 kg yogurts there.
Yeah.
And we
Well, because I go to Welcome.
Welcome has our brand. We
only
have
the small tub.
500 gram. We have small cups and the 500-gram cups as well. This brand in Welcome Marketplace.
Yeah.
So you can get 2 500-gram cups from there.
This is probably made from cow's milk, right?
Correct.
Do you guys ever have like goat's milk, sheep's milk? Yogurt?
Okay, good question. Greece has a lot of different yogurts. So if you go to Greece, or if you take a typical Greek family, what do they eat? Actually, I would say it's probably 50-50. I mean, they would eat a strained yogurt, but they would also eat like a traditional yogurt as well. Possibly, you know, a sheep milk yogurt, depending on where they live or whatever, you know. I mean, so we have a lot of different types of yogurts. Sheep and goat milk yogurts are very, very common. If you go to the supermarket, you will see a big collection of those yogurts. And strained yogurt is one of a range of different yogurts that are available. But for exports, the strained yogurt is the one which has dominated Greek exports and become known as Greek yogurt. Any other questions?
Can I ask the price in Greece? How much is the for one pack? Like the maybe 100 grams.
Like this cup, this small cup.
Yeah. And the price compared to other countries like in Germany, because I used to live in Germany for many years. It's really cheap, like 50 cents or €1 for one.
No, it's not 50 cents anymore. Maybe that was
so
10
cheap.
years ago.
But here, I went to the Welcome. It's like. Oh my gosh! It's like 100.
Welcome to Hong Kong.
Yeah, Hong Kong dollars. Or
welcome to Hong Kong.
Yeah,
yes.
It's too expensive compared to Germany.
Because what is the reason? The reason is it's imported, like everything in Hong Kong.
Ah, okay.
So not only is it imported, but it has to come by air transport, which is very, very, very expensive. It doesn't come by sea, right? The ship. In cold storage and by air. So the costs are very, very high to bring it. That's the reason.
Okay.
But in Germany, it can go by road, by truck. There's no import duties. There's no other currencies. There's no necessarily middlemen. You can go directly from the factory to the big supermarket. So the costs are, you know, a lot less there than they are to bring something here. So generally, anything that comes from Europe that is chilled is very expensive in Hong Kong. Sausages, cheeses, yogurts, anything like that that comes from Europe is very expensive because it has to come by air. Okay?
Okay, I see.
All right.
Thank you.
Shall we move on to the cheeses? All right. So one of the things I hope you will get out of this next section is to really be impressed by how many cheeses Greece has. Different types of cheeses, a lot. Greece is cheese land. They love their cheese. Okay, so we have 22 regional PDO cheeses alone, right? That means different regions have registered their particular cheeses as unique. what does that tell you? It tells you that Greeks are localized people. They love their locality and they're very proud of their locality. So they want to, they feel that their product is. So we have a lot of different cheeses, and some cheeses are made in different regions, which I'll show you in a minute. You can see here, I mean, I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not going to spend really a lot of time just to see here that we have hard cheeses, soft cheeses, creamy, fresh cheeses, feta cheese, hard cheeses, dry cheeses. I mean, we have really a lot of different cheeses. We're going to touch upon these: Manuri, Kayseri, and the list goes on, right? So you can see from the bottom how many different cheeses and different types of cheeses we have. So, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to focus on 3 cheeses: feta cheese and halloumi cheese, sorry, and then the other 3, which are, oops, sorry. Here we are. This one, and this one, which is Graviera from Crete, okay, which is the cheeses we have here in front of us. So I'll start off with the feta cheese. Feta is a Greek national treasure. It really is. The amount of revenues that the Greek state earns through the sale of feta is incredible, because it really has become a global product. I just want to ask one question. Do you know why Greek cheeses are maybe not so famous, even though we have just as many cheeses as the French do, or the Swiss, or the Spanish? Can someone tell me why they're not so famous?
Poor naming and marketing.
Poor
Naming.
Okay. These are subsequent problems. No. Why do we know French cheeses so well? Why do we know Spanish cheeses so well and Italian cheeses?
Because of colonization.
Thank you. High five. Okay. Colonial powers have a huge advantage. The British, the French, the Italians, the Spanish, through their colonies and colonization, they were able to communicate and expand their products throughout the globe. That's why we know Italian and French and British cheeses. Is cheddar cheese such an amazing cheese? No, it's not. It's a great cheese. I love it. But is it really that amazing to be so famous? No, but the British had a head start 200 years ago when they popularized it across 120 nations, because they had a naval empire that was able to ship products, to be able to distribute, to market, and so on and so forth. Same with the French. Why is French food so everywhere? So the colonies, the colonial powers had a head start of 200 years or more to spread the products, to spread their cuisine through their colonies. In Asia, in Africa, in America, around the world. So that's why they're so entrenched in our psyche and in the consumer's mind, okay? But in actual fact, they're no better or worse. Greeks have equally good, if not better, dairy products as anyone else in Europe. You alluded to something which is important, the naming. I mean, I just go back to the previous slide. I mean, is someone seriously going to go over the counter and ask for that? Or yeah, we have a problem. As an importer, I have a company called Alpha. It's a big pastry, one of the biggest pastry companies in Greece. They do filler pastry and all these kind of things. And they're asking me, why are you not moving our products? Why are you not moving this, I said, just look at the name. I mean, how are you gonna pronounce that? I didn't, and especially when they write it in Gringlish, like they put the EI and all these kind of, so they have a serious issue where they just literally translate a Greek name into an English name with English characters, and they think it's okay, and they're proud of it, but it's not gonna fly on the shelf, right? Because if you can't say it, you're not gonna buy it. That's that simple. So we do have a marketing issue. The same goes with olive oil, same goes with a lot of Greek products. But they're learning. They're learning. And I think the future of Greek agro products is bright because the new generations that are coming in now, the 30-year-olds, the 30-something-year-olds that are taking over their parents' business or whatever, they've been educated, they understand. So a lot of these things are changing. They're getting now, they understand that they have to have an export brand that has a different labeling, different naming, and it's for the export market, right? They're starting to understand that. It's the same with cheeses. So just going back to feta, where we started, that was just a small parenthesis to really put into context the Greek cheese versus other European cheeses. So feta is made with a combination of sheep's and goat's milk, which gives it that creaminess and extra kick compared to cow's milk cheeses. Depending on where you get your feta from in Greece, they have different recipes. Some can be drier and more brittly, others can be creamier and softer. It really depends. As you will see in the next slide, there's feta cheese produced in many parts of Greece. 115,082 tons of feta production in Greece. 260 million euros generated from feta exports and 600 feta cheese production units in Greece. It's a lot, all right? So I'll just go to this map first because I think here you can really get an idea of Greece productive areas. And you can see that most of it, 46%, 14%, like most of it is sort of around this part here of Greece, which is like the central part of Greece. And then you have sort of the Peloponnese and some of the Greek islands there and some, in Thrace up here on this side. But the bulk of it is around this area here because geographically, that's where you have the best ecosystem for the goats and the sheep that produce a certain type of milk that is suitable for creating the best feta. So down here, you can see global feta cheese exports. Germany and the UK are like 50%, just those two countries alone. And then as you go down, you will actually see no Asian country here, nothing. So the rest of the world is 4.5%, which includes the whole of Asia and Africa and whatever. So actually, the vast majority of feta goes to Europe. And number one destination is Germany and the UK because they have the biggest diaspora of Greeks living in those countries and other nationals who like that type of cheese. Turks also live, a lot of Turkish people live in Turkey, in Germany as well, and the UK, so a lot of the exports go down there. Now, to the feta cheese itself, how many of you have tried feta cheese? I think quite a few of you have, right? Have? No, not that many. I know you have. How do I know? Just a guess. So actually, most of you have not tried feta cheese, right? Have you heard of feta cheese? Okay, what have you heard of feta cheese? In what context have you heard of feta cheese? Anyone? In what context have you heard of feta cheese?
Greek salad.
Thank you, Greek salad, right? Probably don't know, yeah, maybe. So if you've tried a Greek salad, basically, that's a good point. If you've tried a Greek salad in Hong Kong, the likelihood is that you've had something that could be a feta cheese or something like a feta cheese, right? So it's a white cheese that looks like this. It's quite brittly in texture, but when you put it in your mouth, it's quite creamy and has a sharp, bright, punchy flavor to it, almost a little bit sour, right? So it's when you try it, you know you've had feta cheese. When you've had feta cheese, you know you've had feta cheese. Yeah, well, let's just finish what we did. So feta is produced and matured in particular areas in Greece, as we can see over there. Its ingredients are also produced within these areas. It's produced following specific traditional methods. It is a PDO. So when you do go to the supermarket, if you do want to buy feta cheese, look for the Greek brand. Again, it is a Greek product. It is a PDO product, and it will have this logo, which is the PDO logo on the packing, right? The benefits, I think Michelle can tell us a little bit more about these, but the benefits of feta cheese as a cheese, it has lower lactose than many cheeses. It has less calories than many other aged cheeses. It's 2 times vitamin B12 than cheddar, 4 times more vitamin D than Parmesan, 3 times more calcium than brie and ricotta, 2 times more iron than blue cheese. So it has profound health benefits to it. And like I said, it's the most famous cheese that you will find almost everywhere, all around the world. And I think we can try some now. We have the cheese in front of us. Do you want to?
Today we have 2. The other one is the Lenori, right?
Yes.
So the other one should be more creamy when you are trying to differentiate. Is that correct?
Yeah. You have 2 white cheeses in front of
They
you.
look they look alike. So
They look-
I'm thinking the only way you can do is you can use this. You press it down and then you feel the texture different. The hotter one should be feta cheese. Is that correct? Or
the more
please
sour,
correct
the
me.
more
Yeah.
sour one should be the feta cheese, and the other one should be the manuri cheese. Okay, which is
should be softer and creamier one.
the manuri cheese
Yeah.
will look.
应该比较干. Yeah, 比较 the drier one.
This is the manuri cheese here. It's a white, also white looking cheese, but it has a creamier, softer, less salty taste.
So we should say the feta cheese, if you taste these 2, the feta cheese is much stronger, right? Saltier,
It's saltier,
punching.
more pungent, yeah. A little bit peppery, the flavor, a little bit sour.
And also for harder cheese, the lactose level is usually less. So for those of you who are lactose intolerant, cottage cheese or other softer form of cheese are higher in lactose. So if you are concerned about lactose, then you should pick harder cheese like mozzarella, cheddar, and such.
Yes. No. Feta cheese is the quintessential Greek product. It's the cheddar of Greece. It can only be Greek.
So there is no feta cheese from other parts of the world?
There is fake feta cheese from other parts of the world.
So they
Fake.
I know, but I thought it's just like yogurt. You can have Greek style yogurt, right?
You can have a feta style, whatever cheese. Yeah, you can have Australians produce feta cheese,
Yeah.
but it has cow milk in it.
But they still call it feta
Yeah,
cheese.
But it cannot be if it has cow milk. Feta cheese can only have sheep and goat's milk cheese in it. Only.
I understand, but since you said it's a PDO product, right? Why are they allowed to produce feta cheese?
Because the PDO is a European law. It doesn't have any jurisdiction outside the EU. So if you're in Australia, you can produce a fake Greek yogurt, a fake feta cheese. As long as you don't import it into Europe, it makes no difference. You can send it to Hong Kong.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions about Greek feta cheese? I think what we can do, usually we buy feta cheese, we can just simply cut it and then put in a salad, right? And another one is, what is that one? Give me star? The stuffed pepper one. What do we put in stuffed pepper?
No, it's not a melting cheese.
Yeah, what is
Actually,
that?
actually, feta
was
cheese
that?
can be enjoyed in several ways. It can be raw, put on top of a salad, or you can sprinkle it with some olive oil and some oregano and some chili maybe, and then you can put it on a salad. Second thing is that you can mash it into a dip. So you can make a feta cheese dip. You can put it in a blender, and then you can add olive oil and some other things and make it into a dip. Thirdly, you can bake it. You can bake feta. You can wrap it up in an aluminum foil, put some olive oil, some sun-dried tomatoes or whatever, and bake it. So it can be quite a nice baked cheese as well. So it doesn't melt, but it's sort of like a nice creamy texture. But not it doesn't have like a, yeah, it's not like that. It's not one of those mozzarella style things. It just has a nice taste because it absorbs the olive oil and the oregano and stuff, and just has a nice taste when it's baked. You can't make fondue because it doesn't become like runny liquid, you know. Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see all the Greek cheese mainly made from sheep's milk and some goat's
Yeah.
milk, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of cow's milk in the
Yeah,
cheese,
well,
is it?
I just explained
Yeah.
in my first
Yeah.
slide that the geography of Greece
Right.
is not really suitable for
Yeah.
cows. So traditionally, historically, most herders had goats and sheep.
Mm.
That's just all the area. You take all the area there, Turkey, up until all the way to India. I mean,
Sorry, I just have a question regarding pasteurization process. I understand that most, if not all, Greek cheeses are pasteurized. Could you elaborate maybe a bit more on why?
no.
Okay.
I'm not a cheesemaker. I don't know
Okay.
I'm sorry. Actually, not all. I was doing some background reading. I think Kasseri cheese is not made from pasteurized milk. I don't think all cheeses are made from pasteurized milk. But I couldn't really get into the cheese making details. I would. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's certain ways, but there's certain ways that cheeses must be made, whether they're industrial or not. They have to follow a minimum standard of sorts, you know. Any questions on that? Yes. Hmm? Wine pairing. I would probably say a white wine, a white, refreshing, cool wine in the summer. I mean, I wouldn't pair it with a red wine. Dimitris? The lady's asking, what would you pair feta cheese with in terms of wine? I said probably a
Of course.
refreshing white wine, right?
Of course, it goes with both, but I'll keep the yellow cheeses for red wine. Yeah. So the feta cheese, I'll get it with tomato and olive oil and oregano, and with a nice chilled white wine. And I keep the yellow cheeses more for the red wines. Because the feta it's salty, it has got a little bit of kick, and if you've got a nice nice white wine, chilled white wine, it's go fantastically well. You're the expert. You're the expert on wines.
I think when you have like Greek salad, usually you have the feta cheese. Something so refreshing. I think nice white wine.
Yeah.
White wine would be very nice. But you think earlier you say you can put in the baking and then with some kind of sauce or some kind of tomato sauce. Of course, you can go with the red wine too. So that can be go either way, depending on what kind of food you are having.
By the way, we had to postpone the wine tasting from the 20th to the 27th. You can go and buy some feta cheese and bring it over when we're doing the tasting of the wine, right? And you can play with different wines.
Okay. So I think I'll just did you try the 2 white cheeses?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just say a few things about the Manuri cheese, which was the second cheese, white cheese that you had. So this is a fresh, semi-soft white rineless cheese. I'll just put the photo up. Yeah, here we go. And then you can also see it grilled as well. So that's the second white cheese, the Manuri cheese. Can also be grilled. And in this particular recipe, you can see they've put some honey and some sesame seeds on it. So, I mean, that's just one way of doing it, but that's also can be eaten fresh like that. So this is a soft white cheese. It's kind of brittle, as you saw. It's made, and this is interesting actually, because from a health point of view, this is regarded as the healthy feta cheese. It's an alternative to feta cheese. Why? Because it's made from the whey that comes out of the feta cheese making process. So when they've made the feta cheese, the whey that comes out of the feta cheese is bubble processed to extract this cheese. So the result of that is that it's less fatty, has around 30% fats, I think only. 36 to 38% fat. It has much less salt. If you noticed, it was less salty, right? So the feta cheese was very salty, then the other one was not so salty. So it has a lot less salt. So it's considered to be a healthier cheese. If you want a light, fresh, white cheese, and you don't want to have the salt impact of feta cheese, or you want to have a lower fat cheese, this is a good option. It's also a PDO cheese as well. It was registered in 1996 as a PDO cheese. And it's mainly produced in that sort of middle part of Greece, which I showed earlier to you. So I think the uniqueness of this is that it's made out of the whey of the feta cheese production. That's the sort of the main key sort of characteristic and uniqueness of this cheese.
So whey protein, I don't know if you have heard about it. Whey, some of you maybe. So usually for bodybuilders, they will go to supplement stores to get whey protein powder, because whey protein contains all of the essential amino acids for muscle building, cell repairment. So this is definitely a healthier and better cheese compared to some of the alternatives.
Any questions before we move on to the halloumi cheese? Yeah. It's a European certifying body. It's a European certifying body that any country can submit, or any community can submit an application for their product. And they would go through some kind of an evaluation process. And then if they deem that it is indeed a unique product to that region, they will give you the certification.
So I'm actually asking about the PDO governing body. Are they from EU area or just Germans or?
No, it's an EU body.
EU body.
Brussels, in Brussels. It's not a particular country.
Because I saw the words were I think German words.
No, they have different logos with different languages depending on I just had the one with German, okay. But it can have the English, you can have Greek, you can have it depending on the consumption country where it's going to end up. Yeah. Any other questions on the feta cheese and the white cheeses? Anyone? No. Okay. All right. So this is the feta cheese that we bring. So the Mevgal brand. So you can find this in the supermarkets. This is the one that you've just tried now. So you can see the packing is like this. It also has the ITQI Taste Award, which is another European taste, it's International Taste Institute in Brussels. So it's been awarded numerous times with this award. And another interesting point about Mevgal is that it was the first company to export feta cheese out of Greece. So that's quite unique. The feta cheese that you've tried, I would say it's like a middle, it's like a middle hardness, middle flavored maturity cheese, because there are different types of feta, like I said before. There's ones that are more mature, they will tend to be much sharper taste, much more peppery taste. And, you know, if they've been let to mature, they will also become harder as well. So I would say that the one you tried is probably like a middle maturity, middle hardness kind of feta cheese. And for good reason, because Mevgal is a popular brand, so it would cater for the majority of tastes, right? It's not an artisan brand that would have its own unique kind of taste. Okay, so moving on to halloumi cheese. Does anyone know halloumi cheese here? Just 2, 3? Okay. You as well, okay. Okay, so halloumi cheese, I'll just make a distinction to say that it's not a Greek cheese. It's actually a cheese from Cyprus, which is my particular country. Cyprus, if you don't know, is a small island, kind of southeast of Greece, below Turkey, above Egypt, next to Israel and Syria, sort of in that pocket there. Cyprus is unique because of its location. Over the millennia, it has been occupied, it has been raided, it has been pilfered by many, many peoples and invaders from the east and the west. And it's a unique place for gastronomy, for flavors, for tastes, because it really brings east and west together. So if you try Greek foods, there is a very strong Greek element influence, but there's also quite a strong Turkish and Middle Eastern influence in both the ingredients, in the way that we cook. So it is a kind of fusion cuisine, I would say. Now, halloumi cheese, what is it? It's an authentic halloumi cheese. An authentic halloumi cheese comes from Cyprus. It has just last year become a PDO product. Finally, after 20 years of trying, they finally made it. And we nearly had it nicked by the Danes. Can you believe it? The Danes were almost registered the PDO for halloumi cheese. I mean, that would just be shameful. But yeah, we did it in the end. So it's a brined, semi-soft cheese made from a mixture of goat, sheep, and then I put in bracket cow's milk, because the new standard now allows for cow milk. Why does that? Why is that? The reason is that it's predominantly cost related, because cow milk is cheaper. And secondly, for export purposes, it tones down the sort of goat and sheep milk. So it becomes more, from a taste point of view, it becomes more accessible to more people. So it can have all these three milks, but if you go to a more artisan type of halloumi cheese, it will tend to be a sheep milk with a little bit of goat milk maybe in it, okay? Now, the main characteristic of halloumi cheese is that, and I don't know the technicalities, it's the process of the cheese making, but it has a very high melting point. So it can be grilled, pan fried, and it doesn't melt away. It sort of retains its shape, and it's one of the reasons that it's become a very famous grilled cheese. And it's used, you know, in veggie burgers. It's used in for breakfasts, for like an English breakfast. You'd often find halloumi cheese now. that comes with it. And it's just a great protein that's an alternative to meat. It's a vegetarian protein. Yes.
It's number 6 on your tasting, right?
Yeah.
It's number 6, don't get confused. Halloumi is number 6 on your tasting.
What you're going to try is the raw halloumi, by the way. Okay, so it's raw, it's not grilled. You're just going to try the raw. So you'll see when you eat it, it's a little bit rubbery, a little bit kind of chewy, squeaky, even, I would say. The particular cheese that you're going to try is made of sheep, goats, and cow's milk. It's quite a mild, I would say, flavor. It's also quite salty because it's a brine cheese. So can anyone tell me why many Greek cheeses are brined? But why Greek cheeses are, why you have halloumi and feta and brine?
Is it to preserve it? Because
It is, but why? Why do you think Greeks brine their cheeses, a lot of their cheeses?
is it a substitute for like ultra high heat treatment or something?
No,
Like, I don't know.
it's exactly the opposite. Because we have pristine sea, salty sea, right? So the seawater in the ancient times was used to preserve food, right? So especially the island communities, the Greek island communities who were, especially in the sort of southern parts where there was a shortage of water, fresh water, they would use salt water to preserve things because it was in abundance around them, right? So salt water was how it all started. So they would just basically use the natural resource that was free right next to them, and it was pristine and clean. So they would just use that and put things inside it. So that's why you have a lot of sort of brine cheeses in Greece and Cyprus. So that's the halloumi cheese sort of background. Halloumi cheese has been popularized. The next slide, just a little bit of a historical kind of context. Halloumi was known in Cyprus before the invasion of the Ottoman Turks in 1571. During the Crusades, this Leonardo Donner, who lived in Cyprus, recorded the production of halloumi in 1556 AD manuscripts. So it goes back a long time. And the name halloumi is likely derived from Egyptian Arabic halloum. The Egyptian Arabic word is itself a loan word from a Coptic halom, which means cheese, referring to a cheese that was eaten in medieval Egypt. So this type of cheese making goes back a long way. It's an ancient cheese, basically. It's not something new or modern or trendy or whatever. It goes back a long time. And it has become popularized throughout Europe, and now in the US, it's become a big thing. And I would say even in Hong Kong. I mean, we started, I'll just tell you something. We started 5 years ago selling around 200 kilos of halloumi cheese per month, 5 years ago. I think now we're doing 1.5 tons a month of halloumi cheese in 5 years. Okay, so in Hong Kong, right? So what does that tell you? It tells you that people like it, and it's going on people's menus. We've had particular favor with vegetarian and vegan restaurants and chains. Even though they're vegan, they've made an exception for halloumi cheese because people love it. But a lot of the Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, Greek restaurants, international restaurants are using it in Hong Kong. The UK has become crazy. You see some of the titles here. I mean, there's even halloumi art things going on. We even have a stamp with a traditional cheese making, as you can see here with the old lady with the, making the cheese. And here you can see the different uses and the different ways you can enjoy halloumi cheese, right? I mean, you can put it on a salad, on a breakfast. You can deep fry it and use a dip. You can make halloumi fries on a burger, on skewers. So if you're looking for a good vegetarian option of a high protein, a good quality protein, halloumi is the way to go, okay? And it's easy to work with. It doesn't break in your hands, and you can cut it easily. You can skewer it. You can do anything. It's very workable. That's why the chefs also like it. So I think that's the halloumi cheese, which, have you tried it or are you?
I try it at home for myself. So I just purchased from the marketplace. So I cut it to like a strip and then I just pan fried it. And last time I learned from Stella, you can pair it with watermelon.
Yes.
That was really, really good.
Yes.
So when you have opportunity, if you have watermelon at home, you go to buy a pack of halloumi cheese. You just slice it, pan fried it. You don't really need some like.
Actually, you can eat it. Actually, back
oil.
in Cyprus, we eat it fresh with watermelon. Not. I mean, you can have it just fresh with watermelon.
So I grill it.
You can
and
grill it.
It looks so nice. Yeah.
The basic concept is try and pair it with something sweet because it offsets the saltiness, right?
And then give that kind of fresh.
So
taste.
you can also pair it with honey.
Mm.
When you grill it, you can put honey on top of it, and it really takes out the saltiness and really balances the tastes. And raw with fruits, any fruit, it will go very well. Yes.
Cool.
Any fruit will go very well. Yes. You tried it? Any questions or thoughts? No.
Cheese, Greek cheese, diabetes. Actually, I have diabetes. Can I taste Greek
I think Michelle
diary?
is.
Yes, because it is the glucose in food that influence your blood glucose level. So cheese obviously is a source of protein, and most dairy products are relatively low in glycemic index. So for someone who has diabetes, they are safe.
Okay. Convenient.
Okay, you should have 2 cheeses left, right? Like a sort of a yellow one and a sort of pale yellow one, right? The yellow one, which is a harder one, is this one here, and I'll talk about this. This one. So that cheese is called Graviera. Graviera. And Kritis means from Crete, from the island of Crete. Okay. And it makes a distinction because there are different types of Graviera cheeses. There's many from different areas. But the most famous and the most known is this one that you have here in front of you. So actually in Greece itself, Graviera is the second most consumed cheese after feta. So it's actually a very popular cheese in Greece itself, okay? It's a hard cheese with a light, deep yellow, sort of goldenish, sort of light golden color. Small irregular holes. Hard rind. It comes usually in heads, round heads with a rind. So it's a rind cheese. And it has a sort of sweet, milky taste and a little bit of a peppery after finish, depending on the maturity of the cheese. Okay. Now, the word Graviera is speculated to originate from the word Gruyere, which is a Swiss cheese. And probably the story goes that after Greece's independence in 1821 from the Turkish Ottoman Empire, once they were liberated and became a nation, and they wanted to kind of develop trade and exports. So a lot of the cheese producers probably wanted to give it a fancy name that was relatable to European buyers. So they probably just said Graviera, which sounds like Gruyere, which was probably more like a marketing ploy than anything else. But I would say, from my point of view, that I find it a lot more similar to a pecorino type of cheese, okay? Which is an Italian cheese made from goat milk, sheep goat milk. And I would say it's sort of closer to that type of taste profile. It's also a PDO cheese, and by virtue of the standard, it has to contain at least 40% fat and a maximum moisture content of 38% moisture. So it is a dry cheese. Now, how can you eat Graviera cheese? It's a perfectly decent table cheese that you can enjoy on a cheese platter, in a sandwich, just casually nibble at home with a cracker, something like that. You can pair it with your wine. It can also be a good grating cheese. You can grate it as an alternative to a Parmigiana or some other hard cheese. So these are the main ways to enjoy Graviera cheese. Okay. You want to try it? Have you tried it? The harder one of the two, and the more yellow. It's a little bit more yellow, and it's a stronger taste. It's more salty.
I think this would be very nice. Just to put it on the burger too. Would be really nice, like a grilled cheese.
Sorry, yeah,
stuff.
you're
Is
absolutely
it?
right. The third way that the Greeks use it is to make saganaki. Saganaki is a pan-fried seared cheese, block of cheese. Basically, you can deep fry it or pan fry it. You basically coat it in a light batter, and then you can pan fry it, sear it, or deep fry it even. And it has that sort of melting cheese thing to it. And they put some lemon on top of it. Some people put honey on top of it as well. And you can have it with, some people put some, they can finish it with ouzo, right? In the
You should
pan,
prepare
yeah.
ouzo today.
So that's another way of eating it. Yeah. So basically you can also pan fry it or whatever, and it gives that sort of melting cheese.
So have it like an appetizer too.
Yes.
Right?
Actually, if you go to the Greek restaurants here in Hong Kong, you will find saganaki on the dish, on the menu, and that's what it is.
Fantastic.
I'm just finishing.
We have last one.
Just one left. The caseri. Did you try the second yellow cheese? All right. The second yellow one is called caseri cheese. It's a medium hardness cheese with like a pale yellow color. Also made from sheep's milk with some goat milk added. It comes in round heads as well as the block. It's matured around 4 months. And I think the interesting part about this cheese is that it belongs to the pasta filata family of cheeses, if you know what that is. And the pasta filata is family of cheeses is the mozzarella and provolone.
Yeah.
It falls into that. And what does that mean? It means stretched curd. So basically the curd is stretched during cheese making, and then it gives it that stretchy kind of texture when it's heated. When it heats up, it becomes a stretchy cheese. That's why in Greece they use it a lot for pizzas. Can be used for pizzas.
So this is also very good for sandwich, omelette,
Very good.
pastry,
Excellent.
anything.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's a softer cheese, less salty, less matured than the Gruyere. It can be put in a sandwich. I would say that this is a very easy day-to-day cheese, daily cheese. Yes.
So any question from the floor? Any question for our guest speaker?
All these taste much better in Greece because it goes with the environment, and what you have is you have the local tomatoes, the ingredients, and then you've got the olive oil, and then you've got the fresh breads, and you do it by the sea, so it kind of all the tastes are coming up. So the reason why we're doing this is to make sure that you get blessed and you go to Greece and you taste everything there. In the meanwhile, Levant has got a lot of supply to give you the opportunity to try some of this at home. For the boys and the guys in this room, the easiest way to impress your wife or your girlfriend or to attract a nice girl is to get a nice Greek feta and a nice Greek salad with feta cheese and a nice cold bottle of Greek wine. Trust me, it works every time. I'm an old guy, I know my stuff, right? And you don't need to cook anything, you just do that. You grill some bread and you serve this with grilled bread. It's the best thing you can have. Okay, any more questions, anything? Let's thank.
How about the popularity of blue cheese in Greek?
No. They think it's like a moldy off something.
No, my mom will never allow me to do that. I had to go to England to learn how to do it. Yeah, they kind of think that it's not good. Okay, guys, let's thank Stelios, Michelle and Pearl, and all our good colleagues, Brigitte at the back that she's taking pictures, Dilap, Kachito in next room, Kaylee, and all our colleagues who have been working around in the lab to help us make this thing. Thank you so much, guys. Unbelievable. Thank you. Now, next Monday, we have got the Greek wine, and we have got some few places left on the Greek lunch on the 30th of June and the 7th of July. And also we've got the dinner on the 13th of July. So these are the days to have it in your diary. Please take pictures, please upload the pictures and just say to everybody how good Greek cheese is, and go to levant.hk, levantfoods.hk, and actually Tony, and actually, no, it's Emily. I know. If you go to levantfoods.hk, you find big yogurt and kilo.
Actually, we have a scalable price. If you buy 3 It's 3% off. If you buy 5, it's 5% off or something. So you can do a group purchase.
And if you tell me, I give you a discount, right? Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you to all our colleagues here, and see you next time. Thank you.